What is up, everybody? Today I'm coming back to you with another contest prep update. So I'm just going to get into it, talk about what's happened in between this update and the previous update, and talk about where I'm going moving forward. So I'm going to start you guys off where I start most of my clients, which is with the Macrocycle Plan. Now, I did have to make some adjustments to this. What happened was last week, a couple weeks ago now, at the time I had 5 jobs at the same time, technically, and one of them was very physical. I was waiting at a restaurant a few nights a week, and I had added a couple other jobs recently, so I was at like 3, I went to 5, and it just became overwhelming, and I started to not be able to do all the things that were, or it became challenging to do all the things that would make me successful in this contest prep. And so I kind of just sat down and thought, like, what are my priorities moving forward and what I need to focus on. So I went to maintenance for that period because I wanted to make sure that I was making the best decision for myself, financially, for my career, for bodybuilding, etc. And I didn't want to be doing anything half-assed. Now, I did sit down with myself, went to maintenance, basically took an active rest essentially, and decided that ultimately, and I got rid of one of the jobs, which helped tremendously, and I'm not struggling with my schedule anymore. But then I also came down to and concluded that now there's never going to be a right time, and so I should just move forward with this thing. So I'm moving forward with the contest prep. Again, I have this show tentatively picked out, which is about 13 weeks from today. But we will see. I can always do another qualifier. I'm not really set on a specific show, but I would say that based on where I'm at currently, I should be okay to meet this show deadline in 13 weeks. I'm much leaner than I was 13 weeks out last contest prep, and I'll show you guys that in a second here. I did start to actually transfer my macros over into my spreadsheets here. Usually I just track in Chronometer, which I will show you. But I wanted to make sure that there's no stone unturned. And at about 14 weeks out, I think that it's really smart to start, dialing in, making sure that I'm accounting for little things and stuff like that, and just checking where my averages are at, just so I can make adjustments. So you can see right now I'm about at 250 pounds. I haven't lost a pound. I even gained some weight since contest prep started. That is in part because of the pharmacology, which we will talk about in a sec here. Averaging 12,000 steps a day. The only thing I'm changing on my rest days is reducing my steps. Fiber is still at 100 grams roughly per day, and protein at 280. I generally recommend for enhanced bodybuilders, especially with the amount of farm I'm on currently, that since muscle protein synthesis is elevated, having at least a gram per pound, if not a little bit more, is probably smart for enhanced bodybuilders. And then fats as low as I would reasonably run them, and they'll probably just stay there, and I'll adjust carbohydrates if need be. That's pretty much it there. Don't need to worry about these sheets. I'm not using them. I don't have recent check-in photos, so I'll show you in my photo library, and then I'll have to add those in later. And then let's go over to farm, because I know you're all dying to see the farm. So during that active rest period, not knowing where I was going, one of the reasons I also chose to do this is I was having pretty bad anxiety. For one, my libido was gone. I was feeling lethargic. I had a lot of issues going on. And I realized after having a call with a friend, so during this period, obviously took some time off, reevaluate everything, but I had a call with a friend, and we realized that it was essentially signs of low E2, low estrogen. And I realized that like the Mastron competes with aromatization heavily for me, especially, and has a high binding affinity for the estrogen receptor, meaning it just drops my estrogen really low. So I imagine I was very low in estrogen. So what I did was I came back at a higher testosterone dose, and I already feel much better here. But I did drop the dosage down for that period of time to maintenance levels, and here we are currently. So I first... I think a couple days I transitioned to 500 to 500, but really I wanted to kind of titrate up to this 750 to 500, and the next week I'm going to go to 1500. I just noticed that if I jump the dose all the way up from say maintenance level all the way up to my peak dosage. That also tends to drive my anxiety and makes me feel like shit as well. So I'm going to titrate up to that dosage, ultimately ending at about 2 grams here towards the end of contest prep, and 6 IUs of GH, which is going to be, again, the most I've ever taken. I only took 1,000 milligrams total last contest prep and 2 IUs of growth hormone the whole time. And I just had some conversations with people and figured that the trade-off, I'll probably be able to grow on this cycle, and that's probably what we're seeing and why my weight is staying stable, is I'm losing fat and I'm growing muscle at the same time. And there's some water in there obviously as well, but I figured the trade-off in time basically is that I can grow into the show and then just take more time off after, and take more time in between my massing and my cutting cycles and stuff like that. And if you look at the trade-off, it's probably, 1 and 1, meaning it's not much of a difference. But that being said, now I can keep more muscle. I'm going to compete as a super heavyweight. I'll probably be the biggest I've ever been. And I was quite impressed with how I looked at only a gram last time. So I can't imagine how I'm going to look with a good amount of gear in my system. So anyway, we're going up to 1,500 next week. 5 IUs of GH, which actually I'm at 5 IUs of GH currently. And then there's no real changes here. Metformin, obviously, I'm taking for blood glucose control and inflammation. Telmisartan, I'm at 80 milligrams a day at this body weight. Doesn't matter my body fat level, I need 80 milligrams. I do have some telmisartan with hydrochlorothiazide on the way. So I'm hoping maybe I can actually drop the dosage of telmisartan and take some polypharmacy there, and that'll help. 5 milligrams of tadalafil as well for endothelial function, for cardiac health, for blood pressure, and for pumps as well. And then I'm on replacement T3 and T4, 100 micrograms of T4, 125 milligrams of T3. I will be adding albuterol next week. I did actually add yohimbine here. I will be adding albuterol, and I'll talk about why I'm adding albuterol in a sec here. Himbine. Okay, so we're at 3 milligrams a day here. I don't know if I'm going to touch that because it starts to drive my anxiety above that dosage, but it really does help to attenuate the fatigue from the energy deficit. So it is very, very helpful. Albuterol I'm using instead of clenbuterol. A lot of you are familiar with clenbuterol. Albuterol clenbuterol has a half-life of 28 to 36 hours, and guys, sleep is really important for bodybuilding. And this is one thing that confuses me as to why people use clenbuterol. The same people will be like, oh yeah, some of these evidence-based practitioners, oh, don't drink caffeine after, before 8 hours before bed. But then they have clients taking clenbuterol, and it's like, dude, clenbuterol is a powerful stimulant that has a half-life that's much longer than caffeine. So it's like, yeah, dude, look at this drug. It causes lipolysis. It causes muscle retention, blah, blah, blah. But its half-life is double or triple what caffeine's is. So it's going to be impairing your sleep, whether you notice it or not. And during contest prep, sleep is so, so, so important. So in my opinion, and this is why I'm experimenting with albuterol, even if it has less of a lipolytic effect, it makes much more sense from a bodybuilding context to use it because it's not going to be messing with our sleep, which is arguably, you could think about the actual trade-off there. If clenbuterol caused more fat loss, but it also fucked with your sleep, on the net, yeah, maybe it's causing some fat loss, but at expense of the fat loss that you would be getting if you were sleeping enough. And then also you feel like shit all the time because you're now more fatigued, you're more anxious, et cetera, because of the lack of sleep. So if we take albuterol, which has a shorter half-life, we can get some of that lipolytic effect, but not have it interfere with our sleep. So that's my opinion on it. Even if it causes less fat loss, but I'm sleeping better, on the net, it's probably at least net neutral, if not net positive in my opinion, because I do value sleep more than I do, a lipolytic in this case. So yeah, that's what my experiment's going to be with this contest prep. Obviously experimenting with a lot of things, but experimenting with this as opposed to clenbuterol. Also, clenbuterol personally just drives my anxiety like crazy, and it doesn't go away. So I'm hoping that at a low dose albuterol, we can kind of attenuate that a little bit. I have some stress management strategies that I'm trying as well, that I'll talk about in a sec here. But yeah, that's what I'm going to experiment with, and then I'm going to keep you guys posted on how that goes. Injectable L-carnitine, 500 milligrams pre into the muscle I intend on training for androgen receptor sensitivity, for fat loss, for attenuating left ventricular hypertrophy, et cetera, and semaglutide I'm keeping at 1.5 milligrams because at this much of a deficit, that's about as much that keeps me pretty much satiated until my next meal, but I still, people think semaglutide, like, I mean, I could probably max out the dose and eliminate my hunger, but it would cost me $120 every 2 weeks, $60 every week, which is quite a bit. It's almost more than my GH. And so, and then also it's like, it's manageable. It's much more manageable than if I didn't take it. So, I had a cardiac CT echocardiogram on February 20th. I don't have the results here with me, but the doctor did mention that my everything was perfectly normal. I imagine there's probably some left ventricular hypertrophy. I haven't seen the results yet, but that's usually normal for someone who lifts weights, etc. But yeah, that's really cool to hear, and I always want to make sure before I go into a heavy cycle that I know the kind of risk I'm taking and is it worth it. Like if this echo came back and it was like, hey, things are trending in a poor direction and there's a certain level of heart abnormality that was observed, I may have chosen not to do contest prep until I could have resolved that. And there'll be a point where if it does reach a certain point that I'll call it quits. And I think that everybody should have that cutoff for themselves too. But obviously I don't think a lot of people are doing these assessments. I don't think a lot of people are doing echocardiograms, cardiac CTs, are doing even comprehensive lab work is becoming more popular now, but still there's some people who aren't doing it. But just remember that lab work is not the only thing, and it doesn't tell you everything. And we want to be checking our organs. Eventually, hopefully I can get some imaging done of kidneys and liver and stuff like that, see if there's any issues there, abnormalities there. But just remember that if anything, lowest barrier cardiac CT, if you're above 30, echocardiogram. I think there's still value for an enhanced bodybuilder to do cardiac CT if they're younger, because some people have a genetic predisposition to deposit plaque more than other people. So mine came back as a 0. They said you could probably wait a couple years with where my LDL and ApoB are at with my recent blood work that you guys saw in the last video. I think that's probably fine, but just continually doing echocardiograms in between then is fine. And it doesn't, I mean, I think that the cardiac CT is like $150. So I mean, if I can get a referral for one, then I probably will do one, just to be safe in like the next year or two. So yeah, that's pretty much it as far as pharmacology. Again, trying some new stuff, experimenting with some new stuff, and I'll show you how my physique is looking in a sec here. Let's just check out the diet real quick. Show you what foods I'm eating here. So as I'm talking to you guys here, I actually have started to notice some sleep disruption. So I'm going to be probably taking a refeed the next 2 days. My strategy here, and this is something I talked with Dr. Mike Israetel about. Actually, I'll just pull up this document for you guys. Was he had reached out to me because my last contest prep, let's see, Dropbox. I had explained that I had some issues with no, that's in the wrong folder. I explained that I had some issues with my diet, and I had lost some muscle on that last diet. And obviously I wanted to take a break off PEDs. I don't know if I explained this on the channel, but I ran my gear pretty low and I went with a really aggressive deficit. And I was just kind of fed up with getting overly fat in the off season. And I no longer plan on pushing like above like 15-16%. I think for an enhanced bodybuilder with the amount of muscle I carry, the trade-offs in pushing my body weight up that much for health and whatnot, and longevity, and also just having to diet a lot of it off is just not worth it. Anyway, he reached out and he was like, dude, I had a very similar experience. Here's what I'm experimenting with. So I'm going to show you guys, this is kind of what we're doing. When I need a refeed, which is that I start to get signs of diet fatigue, I will come into a slight surplus. So I'm on average 750 calorie deficit. That's what you saw, the 2,750 calories. But when the diet fatigue starts to creep up, I go into a 250 calorie surplus, so 250 calories above maintenance. And here are the rules I'm using to assess whether or not I need a refeed. I'm essentially looking for signs of diet fatigue specifically. So looking visibly flat and depleted. And I know I mentioned that I often notice this in my weaker body parts first. Hunger and food focus are higher. I'm honestly not getting that, but really right now it's a sleep quality. Like I'm waking up, our average sleep cycle is about 90 minutes. I'm waking up every 90 minutes the last 3 nights. I probably should have took it earlier, but I was thinking like this is a little early in the diet for this to be occurring, but everybody accumulates it differently. And that is one of the reasons why I haven't picked a show, is because of the fact that like I always lose muscle during contest preps. And so if I just kind of take my time to get to stage condition, I could probably even gain some tissue with this approach, do a full recomp, and present a much better physique on stage. So I may actually drag out that time instead of just continually pushing the deficit. Because again, I put sleep very high on the hierarchy. And if your sleep starts to suffer, your quality of life starts to suffer, your work starts to suffer, it creates a cycle, and it creates a worse outcome because you're more stressed, you're losing less fat, you're losing muscle tissue. So anyway, you notice more than usual subcutaneous water retention, which I was noticing, and scale weight stalls. But honestly, I can't really use scale weight right now because it literally hasn't changed. So I'm probably, on average, I'll take about 2 high days and then just assess if my sleep's improved. That's going to be the main indicator for me. But take as many high days until you look filled out, especially in weaker body parts. Hunger is noticeably down. Sleep quality, and again, the hunger isn't super reliable because of the semaglutide, so I can't really use that a whole lot. Sleep quality and duration, because keep kind of cutting myself off here, but the reason why Mike experienced this, I experienced this. Semaglutide is amazing for bodybuilding purposes because it allows you to generally not wake up due to hunger, and it also allows you to train without food focus, which are 2 things that greatly improve the physique outcome. But then you're not very aware of your diet fatigue through hunger, right? Because normally if you're really diet fatigued, your hunger will start to, your food focus will get really high, you'll start to be really hungry, etc. But so we were kind of talking about that, and it's like the hunger isn't a reliable metric right now, or not as reliable as, in my opinion. I'd probably put sleep higher up on that hierarchy and focus on that a little bit more with the semaglutide in my system. Sleep quality duration has improved dramatically. That's really the main one I'm looking at for body weight. I can't really use. You experience a rapid drop off and existence of fatigue. Life is worth living again. So like you just, you start getting really fatigued. You're kind of dreading everything. Everything's effortful. So that kind of goes away. So you already kind of saw my my tentative plan. I may actually take some insulin on these days as well, just because I want to drive some more anabolism. And I do believe super physiological insulin, well, it does. There is research to show that it does increase muscle protein synthesis beyond physiological norm. And I do believe that it may cause some extra muscle growth. So really in these surplus days, not only are we trying to drop fatigue, we're actually trying to give my body a little bit more nutrients to grow tissue. So we'll see. This is purely an experiment, but you guys are seeing it first here, and I will keep you posted throughout the contest prep about how it's going. On thyroid replacement, I'm not sure if I'll titrate this up. It always gives me anxiety when I go super physiological. So, and then this was tentative plan, so we're going to do albuterol instead of Clen. But that's the plan there. Anyway, back to nutrition, where I'm currently at. So today, 2750, my surplus is I may actually drop my deficit down, but I don't know. I believe that I have some metabolic adaptation, so my maintenance might actually be more towards 3250. So I'm probably going to take some days at 3500 to 3650 ish, somewhere around there. It's not perfect science. Again, I mean, we're always doing our best guesses on the calories we're taking in and stuff like that. But so today I'm probably going to take that, and mostly through carbohydrates is where I'm going to increase the calories. So something like 400, 450, I think, will probably be where I bring my carbohydrates to. Anyway, you can see my diet selection here. Here's yesterday. I did some creamy protein ice creams, protein bar. So normally in the gym, in the morning before I go to the gym, I'll have a creamy pint and a protein bar, or a couple protein bars. When I get home, I track this all at night, so it's kind of all out of order. When I get home, I'll have oats and either a creamy pint or Greek yogurt. Here, I'll show you a more normal day. Yeah, this is my Mondays because I'm usually out of food. 2 or 3 protein bars in the morning. Post workout, I actually had Panda Express, which, you know, this is pretty good macros for Panda. And then I usually have like low carb midday, maybe a little bit higher fat. So I've been doing Greek yogurt, some strawberries, and then I've been actually eating it on the keto bread. I know it sounds weird, but it's delicious to me right now. I have a big salad, and then for at nighttime I make these green beans that I basically I cook them, and then I put like Splenda soy sauce and sugar-free syrup, maple syrup on them. And I got that from Dusty Hanshaw originally, and they're delicious. I'll have that with some chicken, and then I'll have some potato fries in the air fryer as well. But as you see, like my fiber is really high. Obviously, that's coming from supplemental fiber in part from the keto bread and from the protein bars, but also it's coming from you know, all of the fruits and vegetables I eat. You have avocado. We have generally I had run out of fruit here. Usually I'm having like two apples, 2 oranges a day, having about a cup of vegetables with each meal as well. So that's pretty much it as far as the diet. You know, lots of whole foods, high volume, low calorie. So I mean, you can actually look at this like basically how I do this volume style eating, right? Is when I'm in contest prep, a lot of bodybuilders will eat like rice, which is like just, man, it just sucks. Like you're just starving after each meal. So like it doesn't make a lot of sense as a bodybuilder to eat rice. I eat, you know, stuff that's going to have a large volume and low calorie. That's also nutrient dense, because it makes a lot of sense, especially if you are lower in calorie, to be picking generally more nutrient dense foods. So yeah, you look at like, for example, and 400 grams of, and the reason why I like the creamy pints really quick too, is that the actual volume of a creamy pint, I can have basically like, I mean, I think the volume of one creamy pint is like 400 grams. So I'm having like 800 grams for the same calories in that case, which is amazing. But like you look at 400 grams here, like the actual weight of the food and then how many calories is almost half, right? Something like rice, if we look at food like rice, and let's put 200 grams, right? 260 calories. It's almost a 1-to-1 for calories, right? Versus a Greek yogurt, which we have two for every 2 grams, we have 1 calorie almost. That's usually the where I'm trying to lean towards. And you can look at most of my food selection. This is like 3-to-1. This is like, and look at 300 grams of weight for romaine lettuce. What's that, like 6-to-1, right? It's just ridiculous, right? So everything I'm picking stuff. This is a 2-to-1, you know. So I'm really mindful of the amount of calories that are in the foods, and I'm picking. You know, if you generally pick fruits and vegetables, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna see that. Potatoes is an amazing one, because what's 8 ounces? That's like 250 grams. But it is one of the most satiating foods based on the satiety index. So, and here I can actually show you the satiety index real quick. It makes no sense as a bodybuilder to be eating cream of rice and rice during a contest prep. I think it makes a lot more sense to be picking more whole foods. So anyway, satiety index. Our analysis demonstrates that we achieve the greatest long-term satiety when we obtain more of the essential nutrients from our foods we eat. This is in part because these foods are higher in volume and lower in calories, versus the opposite with highly processed foods, where you have higher in calories, lower in volume. They vary, but basically there's an index, and you can look at like look at here. We have what is the x-axis here? The fullness of that the food provides, and then the actual food selection here. And we see potatoes are like off the chart. Proteins are like moderate. Fruits are moderate as well. I mean, I guess they're pretty high up on the index. Something like a croissant, look at how low that is on the satiety index, right? Where's white rice? White bread. Where you at? White rice. White pasta. Brown rice. White rice. There we go. Not bad. Not bad. But again, we could pick something like potatoes. We could pick something like apples that also have some fiber as well, that can provide some health benefits too. So yeah, that's pretty much it there. Okay, so now we're going to go over to training. So let me show you my training that I built out in the RP Hypertrophy app, and then I'm going to show you what I have in the training sheets. This is probably one of my favorite mesocycles I've ever designed. Like am loving this training cycle. It trains every muscle when it needs to be trained. I'm recovering on time. I love the exercise selection. I'm probably going to follow this loose structure for most of prep, maybe make some adjustments, but it's been working incredibly well. So anyway, changes that I made from the previous mesocycle, I noticed that my chest and back were recovering on time or ahead of time. So I actually added an extra day for chest and back. So on my back days, I'm doing one chest exercise. On my chest days, I'm doing one back exercise. So I'm doing pull, push, legs, pull, push, legs, pull, push, legs, and doing calves first here so I don't skip them. And then I think I added in the T-bar row, got rid of the Smith row. I like the resistance profile of the T-bar row just because it is hardest in the short, the lengthened position, easiest in the shortened position. Still doing the prime row here. And then I'm trying this cast rear long leg delt thing that's on my Instagram right now. If you look at my push days, which is basically like the cable set at wrist height, and then you kind of reach your arm out like this. That's a really awesome delt variation that I've been doing. And then I'm actually doing, so one of the things too, because I was like kind of struggling with balancing work for a while, I'm not doing AM PM sessions for the time being. I honestly prefer it just because I get in the gym and I come home, I shower, and I start working, and I don't have to worry about breaking up that work. I might get some dumbbells for the house, so maybe I could do some PM sessions later in prep, but this has just been working totally fine for me. So got rid of the incline Smith bench, went to an incline caber. Been doing a lot of cable flexion rows because I love those. I did those, I filmed the video for RP, should be out in the next couple of weeks, where Jorge and I trained back, and Mike had us do cable flexion rows, and I forgot how much I loved them. So I put those back in there. I rotated out both of my quad movements. I had a hack squat and Roger squat, and I got I was in Vegas training the week I was hanging out with like RP, and we were doing some stuff for the quantum physique group, and I was doing Rogers, and I got like a little nodule in my knee, and it was like floating around, and it terrified me because I had a knee dislocation a few years back. Well, actually, like in like 7th, 8th grade now when I was skateboarding. And I had redislocated it, and there was bone fragments floating around my knee, so I could actually like push them around, and they would get behind my knee and lock it up. And I was just so terrified that that's what happened to my right leg. But my girlfriend brought to my attention that it might actually be fluid buildup. Luckily, it went away, thank God. But I did rotate out those variations because they were just aggravating my knee. So I went to leg press Smith squat. This rotation, I always have this in the rotation. And I have for like years, honestly. Every once in a while I make some variation to it, but they just work so well for me. So I just went back to them. So I might change that. Maybe I'll push I'll go to leg press, and I'll switch out the Smith squat for a belt squat later on in prep. But for now, phenomenal exercise selection. I'm just going to focus on progressing those. So any other noticeable changes? I'm not sure what I was doing here. If I was doing I think I was doing a pull up. So I went to a pull down narrow grip. So like right here. And then I'm doing, instead of machine pullover, cable pullover, we got a flexion row here again. Doing Smith machine, I'm actually doing a narrow grip here so I can get a little bit of tricep work. Dumbbell press, low incline, and then we have some tricep supersets. And then I'm doing leg press and then a front foot elevated. I'm actually not doing a Smith lunge, I'm just doing like putting my foot on a plate and lunging. So anyway, I am tracking in the RP app, and I'm also tracking in these sheets. Now, if you're not a member of Quantum Physiques yet, I highly suggest you join. I basically built out these sheets that run an algorithm that will progress your reps, progress your load, progress your sets, and will keep you progressing based on subjective feedback. These are completely free in the group, so you can sign up for the group and just download them, and you can run them. And we have all the way from beginner to advanced level splits. We have all the way from 3-day splits to 6-day splits. And basically, so I just put my training in here, and I'm tracking it along with the algorithm. So far, it's pretty similar to the RP algorithm. And I basically use these with my clients because it just saves me a lot of time as far as like having to do all the calculations manually. Basically, I just program the sheets to do the calculations I was doing for clients, and then I come through and help auto-regulate with that process. But yeah, I'm just kind of testing the algorithms out, making sure everything's working. Obviously, the sheets aren't perfect. This is my first iteration of them. They took a lot of work. But they are doing a pretty good job. So you can see here, whoops, I already did some modifications because I did my second day, but let's look at like later in the week. And here's a couple functions of the sheet. You basically tell the sheet if you can add weight or not, meaning like, is it viable? So like dumbbells, no, because the jump from 30 pounds, the next jump is usually 35, and that's 10 pounds total. It's a large magnitude of jump. If I want to progress reps on an exercise instead of sets, I press no, and it'll progress reps instead. And then on average, this sheet is programming. It is a 2.5%, 0.25% increase in load rounded down, just so that the progression isn't too aggressive. But this is like on average, I think around what RP uses as well. So you'll notice like on a calf machine, it's going to add 2.5 pounds, but on, because it's only 70 pounds total, but on the, let's see where we have somewhere we had it 5 pounds. On the incline camber bar bench press, since it was almost 200 pounds, it added 5 pounds. And then you have obviously your ratings, your soreness, your pump, and joint pain, and then it uses that to program sets for the next week. And you also rate how challenging the session is, and this will adjust the set progression as well. I have a section down here for the notes of like the setup. This is going to be for the T-bar row, and then I put like the myo reps, how many, or this is the loading, but for like myo reps, I'll track how many approaches it took me to get to the total reps there. I don't have it to progress giant sets just yet, but that's going to come in the next iteration. So it can progress, like if you put in 45 reps, it'll know to progress like either 5 reps or, 2.25% increase. Here, so like this is what happens right now for the giant sets. So I just have to manually increase by like 5 reps. But usually I'm auto-regulating around this anyway. And same with RP app. It doesn't know how to progress the giant sets yet. So, but you can see here, a lying hamstring curl, it added 2.5 pounds, and then a matching weight. On the leg press, it added 5 pounds, matching reps. And then on the squat, it added 5 pounds and a matching reps. And you can see it's progressed sets as well. Now, one thing about these sheets is they're a little aggressive with volume progression. So what I'm going to do in the next iteration of them is when you rate the challenge of the session, it's going to affect the volume progression as well. And with my quads, I'm actually just not going to push volume super crazy on them because they just respond really well to low volumes. But if you were to say the session was like a 2, it's going to do half the volume progression it would normally do. If it's a 3, it'll actually pull back on, it'll actually hold volume progression. 1, it'll let the algorithm run more aggressively. So that's something I'm going to fix on the next iteration of that. But on average, and what I'm telling clients is like, this is within the ballpark. And then obviously you need to auto-regulate around that. This is the skill that anybody would need to use for the app or anything like that too. But yeah, and then every exercise has an exercise link, a video link to it and stuff. So that's really cool. In this little box is like a superset and stuff like that too. So you can see I got pretty decent pumps here. So it's adding like about a set to get me near maximal pump. The next week I had no soreness, no joint pain, which I need to fix that actually. This should be joint pain. I did fix it on the other iteration. I think I just copied the wrong sheet over. So that's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. There's like, I stared at these sheets for so long. There's always like, just like one thing, I'll be like, oh, I need to fix this. I need to fix this. It's a lot of work, but I'm really happy that these work. These actually cut my, so one thing is like, I looked at my coaching process and I was like, can I automate anything? And the RP app doesn't have a coaching feature yet. And I had asked, I think Nick and Mike, it was like, hey, when does the coaching feature come out? They're like, oh, it's going to be a while. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to build these sheets in the meantime to help with that coaching process. And it literally cut my coaching time down to a quarter. And that's not like, oh, no, I'm not going to give my clients as much value. It's like I can actually focus more on the auto-regulation aspect with my clients instead of focusing on calculating specific numbers each week. And it has improved my coaching as a result because I'm spending more of my time focusing on the client as opposed to the numbers in the sheet. How are you feeling? How is the exercise progressing? How does your technique look? And then helping and instructing them on how to auto-regulate correctly as well. So it's actually been tremendous for both myself and for my clients as well. So yeah, I think it's been very beneficial. And when the RP app does come out, I will switch over to that. And I do recommend, and I have a lot of clients that program in the RP app currently, just not everybody can afford it. And they're already paying for my service as well. So I try to just at least provide this to them so that they have something that works very similarly. So that's pretty much it. I mean, obviously it's just going to do its progressions as normal. You can see 5 pounds here, add reps here. It does all those progressions that like something like the RP app would do or what I was doing manually before, but it is pretty cool. think that's pretty much it as far as this update for contest prep. Oh, let me show you some photos here. Is that a way to pause this? I don't think so. Nope. Okay. Well, hopefully I don't have any bad photos in here. Actually, I'll just look at them off screen. That's really smart. Here you can see a picture of my dog for a second. Okay. I'll show you where I'm currently at right now. I did have some water weight coming back, coming to maintenance for those couple weeks and dropping the dosages down. So that's starting to taper off now, like these couple days, but I'll just show you what I'm currently looking like. I'm very happy, and then I'll show you what I was looking at like last contest prep this far out. So at about 13 weeks out, this is what I'm looking like. Dude, I swear I was like looking like this at like 3 weeks out last time, so I'm very excited how I'm gonna look on stage. So yeah, this is pretty much it as far as the photos. I'm gonna start booking a posing coach here soon. Here, let me show you though what I looked like at this point last contest prep, and you'll think like, oh shit, like, okay, this is March 21st last contest prep, and obviously there's a lot brighter light, but definitely holding much more body fat here, and I have much more muscle. Oh, there's Tommy. Let me see if I can find more photos actually in different lighting. It's hard because we didn't have the posing room, so it's not 1-to-1. It's kind of annoying, but yeah, here, look at this. This is what I was looking like this time last contest prep. This is actually April 3rd, which is like a couple weeks from now. So I'm looking much better, much fuller, much more muscle. I mean, I weigh about the same, but I'm way leaner, and I'm probably gonna stay in this weight for the show. So yep, that's pretty much it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was long, but hopefully you took something out of this. You got to see my coaching process, got to see the adjustments I'm making. I'm going to keep doing these videos throughout contest prep. Keep you guys posted on how the process is going and my decisions, stuff like that. But if you have any questions at all, please feel free to put them in the comments. I will get back to them. Maybe even do some short videos about them on my Instagram and for shorts for YouTube as well. So I want to thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And I will catch you guys next time. Peace.